Hi everyone, so recently I asked you guys if you wanted me to make a video about how to become a Java developer, and I received a lot of comments and messages from you guys asking me to make a video. So here we are. This video will be about how to become a Java developer and how to get a good high paying job as a Java developer. Now, there are a lot of videos like this on YouTube, and one thing I dislike about all of those videos or many of those videos is that most of the videos will come and they'll throw some technical jargons at you. They'll throw some complicated terms, some fancy terms at you, which will be difficult to understand to you as a beginner. See, you're a beginner. You don't know what Java development truly is. That's why you're coming to this video. But if people start talking about all of the complicated terms, then it's going to become complicated for you. So I'm going to make this video as simple as possible. And what I'm going to focus on is what to learn and where to learn it from. Okay, that is where the focus of this video is going to be. And I'm going to give you resources for everything that I'm mentioning. And all of the resources, all of the things that I'm talking about is going to be in the description box. So when you're done with the video, you can just get all of the resources from the description box. You won't have to run around on the internet and trying to find where to learn things from. Every resource will be in the description box. Okay, now for this video, I'm going to divide this video into 4 parts. First, I'm going to talk about why becoming a Java developer may be one of the best moves for your career. Okay, and why Java development is important. That is something I'm going to talk about first. And then the actual video about Java development will be divided into 3 parts. First will be the learning phase. What do you learn? Where do you learn it from? We're going to go into details about it. Second is going to be the building phase. What do you actually build for your resume? And third is going to be in cracking the interviews and job hunting. Like how do you actually get the job? So this is how the video is going to be divided into parts, and all of the parts will have video chapters. So if you want to jump ahead, then you can just go to the video chapters on the timeline and move to a particular part. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let's get started and let's talk about first why Java is important. See, I have been a Java developer. I've been working as a Java developer in the industry for past around 3 to 3.5 years, right? And when I was in college, I graduated in 2022. When I was in college, there was talks of people talking that Java is not going to be there in the future. And even before that, people used to tell me that there was a talk of Java not being there in the future. Since 2008 or 2010, people have been saying the same thing, that Java is not going to be in the future. But still, Java is here, and Java is still consistently one of the most in demand tech stack or the most in demand language in the industry. See, if you go for any product based company, if you go for any big tech company, if you go for a company like Atlassian, Amazon, Salesforce, you'll see all of those companies will be working on Java, and many of the companies will be migrating towards Java because Java is a very reliable language, especially for backend, right? So there's a lot of scope in Java. If someone tells you that Java is not going to be there in the future, well, of course, we don't know exactly what will happen. But looking at the trends, I don't think Java is going anywhere anytime soon. So it is a great idea if you are going into Java development. It is going to be great for your future career as well, right? Because you can make a great career being a Java developer. So just to set the preface of the video, that's what I wanted to say. If you are worried about Java not being there in the future, don't worry about that. Java is something that will surely sustain, right? Because a lot of the big tech companies are depending on Java, and many are even migrating towards Java right now. Okay, so that being said, let's dive deep and jump straight into how do you become a Java developer, starting with the learning phase, phase number 1. Now, of course, for becoming a Java developer, first thing that you need to learn is Java itself. How do you learn Java? Let's start off with the basic syntax first. Every language has a basic syntax, you know this. It's like learning any language, non-tech also. You need to learn the semantics of the language. You need to learn the basics of the language. Likewise, Java as a programming language has some semantics, has some syntax that you need to learn. Now, for learning any new programming language, I do not suggest watching YouTube videos. A lot of people go on YouTube and just search how to learn Java or Java tutorial. I do not suggest doing that, especially if you're learning a new programming language. Because when you're learning a new programming language, my preference and my suggestion is to use text-based content. Because the idea here is to look at the text, learn from the text, and then code it yourself rather than watching YouTube videos. Because the best way to learn any programming language is by coding it out. When you start watching YouTube videos, you get stuck in the tutorial hell, and it's very difficult to come from the video, code, and then go back to the video. It becomes difficult. So for learning a programming language, I highly suggest using text-based content. Resources for this, I'll suggest are going to be Java T Point, W3 Schools, and Tutorials. These three are some great websites for learning Java. But if you're someone who's like, I want a YouTube video to learn anything, then I'll suggest something like Telescope. So Telescope has a great YouTube channel, one of the best YouTube channels for Java. And Telescope has a complete series on Java right from the basic syntax. You can watch that video. But the idea is to be very good with the syntax of the Java so that you're able to write basic codes like adding two numbers, you're able to play around with arrays, play around with strings, and you get a feel of what Java is. Okay, now that you've gotten a feel of what Java is, you're able to be good with the syntax, so you're good with the semantics. Now it's time for you to jump into OOP. That is the biggest feature of Java, like object oriented programming. So there's a little bit of theoretical concepts you need to learn you need to go into the pillars of OOP. You need to know why OOP is there, how did it come to be, why is it important. There is a bit of theory. So what I'll suggest to you for this, you can watch YouTube videos, no worries. I'll give you some great resources in the description box for learning OOP. Again, Telesco has a great playlist on OOP. You can watch his videos and you'll be able to understand every part of OOP, why it's used and how it's used with Java. But the idea here is to understand OOP in depth, because let me tell you, OOP is something that is not going to leave you till, even in the industry, till the time you're working. OOP is not going to leave you. OOP is going to be there in use even in the industry. While you're working, you'll be using OOP principles, you'll be using object-oriented programming principles. So it's important that you learn OOP properly. So now you're good with the syntax, you're good with OOP. Now it's time to jump straight into collections. Java collections is one of the most important thing, and it is important not only for Java for development, it is important for DSA as well. Of course, we'll talk about DSA in later part of the video, but let me tell you, collections is something that will help you in solving problems on DSA. Okay, so I have seen a lot of videos on collections. There are many great YouTubers who have made a lot of videos about Java collections, but the best one so far has to be by Riddhi Datta. Riddhi Datta has made a one-shot video about Java collections, and he has explained everything beautifully. He has explained everything in depth. He has explained the intuition behind many things, and he has explained the internal workings of it, which is something that many people will not be doing. So just watch Riddhi Datta's video. He has a great video on Java collections. With that, you'll be able to understand how collections work, and you'll be able to get a feel of how you can use Java in solving some extensive problems. Okay, now you're good with the syntax, you have a decent idea about OOP, and you're good with Java collections. Now it's time for you to dive deeper into the dark end of Java, or the advanced concepts of Java. So let me be very clear, if you're a beginner, advanced concepts of Java will be a bit difficult for you. So again, here I suggest watching YouTube videos or YouTube tutorials. So there are a variety of advanced concepts under Java. You have things like multi-threading, concurrency, you have exception handling, you have new Java 8 features. So there are a lot of resources you can follow for this. What I will suggest to you, I'll give you some resources. They are a mixture of resources from Riddhi Datta and Telesco. All of the videos topic wise will be in the description box. So you can just learn each topic with the resources that I've mentioned, and you'll be able to understand the things. Okay, so once you're good with the advanced topics, now you're a proper Java coder. Now you're good with Java syntax, Java collections, Java advanced topics, OOP. Now you're a proper Java coder. Now it's time for you to make a proper OOP project. Okay, so you need to create something like a parking lot system or a vending machine system. And I don't mean like a full-blown project, but just a simple OOP project where you have multiple classes. You have the code where one code is calling another. You have a relationship between classes, just for you to get deeper into OOP. Because I see a lot of people understand OOP theoretically, but they don't understand it, practically. They don't have hands-on on it. So if you create something like this, you'll get a good idea about how to use interfaces, how to use abstract classes, what is a relationship, has a relationship. So create a project like this. What I'll be doing in the description box, I'll be giving you guys few questions with a proper description, so you know what to create. Okay, so I'll be giving you guys 3 or 4 questions. You can pick one of them and then create a proper OOP project for it and upload it to your GitHub. And if you want me to review it, you can let me know in the comment. You can give a link to the code and I'll be able to review it from there as well. Okay, so this is an assignment for you. The link of the question or the question is going to be in the description box. Make sure that you finish it after going through all of the previous steps. Now you're good with everything. You're good with OOP, you're good with syntax, you're good with collections, you're good with basically all of the basics of Java. Now you're a proper Java coder, pretty much. Now it's time for you to get into DSA, because DSA is going to be very important for cracking interviews, especially if you're a fresher or if you're, less than 5 years of experience. For freshers, of course, DSA is very important. You already know that. So I'm not going to dive too much deep into it because I've made an entire video about how to master DSA in Java. You can give that video a watch. The link to that video is going to be in the description box. But briefly, do Striver Sheet. Start with Striver Sheet. He has some of the best content out there. So if you have time, go with the 450 question sheet. If you don't have a lot of time, your placements are near, go with the 180 question sheet. So you can choose accordingly based on how much time you have. So finish your sheet, and after that start giving lead code contest, start doing interview questions. And if you want to know more about it, then you can watch that video. I've explained everything in details about DSA. Now that we're good with DSA and Java, now it's time for us to start building things. Now it's time for us to start the building phase. See, even if you're very good in Java, people are not going to give you a job because you need to have hands-on experience with building things with Java, right? Building projects are very important for you to get a job, especially in off-campus placements. In off-campus placements, if you're from a tier 3 college and you want to crack the top companies, you need to build some good projects. You need to build some high quality projects. Okay. So what I suggest is that you learn full stack. So you'll be learning full stack with Java. Of course, for front end, I suggest choosing something like React. So front end is a journey of its own. You can start off with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then you can move to React.js. So I'll be giving you guys some resources for front end as well. So step by step, all of the resources are there. I'll give you guys resources on HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Then I'll give you resources on React.js. And once you feel like you're good with front end, what you can do, you can make a clone project. You can make a clone website of something like Amazon, Flipkart, and you'll be able to have a good knowledge of front end by that point. Now that you have a good knowledge of front end, let's dive deep into backend. See, backend, you already know what backend is. If you don't know what backend is, it is what goes on behind the scene. When you go on a website, you send them your email, password, you log in. The processing that happens behind the scenes, that is backend. Everything that happens at the back, that happens behind the scenes, that comes under backend development. And like I said, I suggest you to go for full stack development. You already are good with front end. Now we're going into backend. Okay, so for learning backend, before you go into backend, what I need you to go into is databases. So I want you to understand about databases, what databases are, how do we use them, and pretty much DBMS, database management system. So again, there's a bit of theory here. I'll give you guys resources for the theory part as well. You can understand what DBMS is. And then after that, I want you to learn SQL, because SQL is very important in backend for querying, for manipulating databases. It is extremely important. So you can learn something like MySQL or Oracle SQL, and you'll be having a good idea about databases, SQL, and how to play around with databases. Again, resources for these will be in the description box. Now that you know what databases are, it's time for you to learn JDBC, which is Java Database Connectivity. You have Java, you have databases. How do you connect between the two? How do you use Java to manipulate the databases? That's what we're talking about. Because any project, whether it's large scale or small scale, it will have few parts. It will have three main components, which will be front end, back end, and databases. These will always be there. You'll have databases where you'll be storing things. You'll have the front end, which will be the appearance, the GUI, and you'll be having the back end. So you can learn JDBC. Along with JDBC, you can learn things like JSP, servlets. Again, for all of these, resources will be given in the description box. Once you're good with all of this, I again suggest making a small scale project using JDBC, where you're using Java and you're making changes to a database. So just make a small scale project for your understanding only. Now that you know databases, JDBC, and few Java concepts for development, now it's time for you to dive deep into Springboot. Springboot is the ultimate framework for backend. A lot of people may not agree with me, but Springboot is one of the best frameworks in backend, and it is one of the most in-demand frameworks. See, I always tell this in all of my sessions, right, that React plus Spring Boot is a deadly combo. And if you're using React and using Spring Boot, you'll be in demand, you'll be in high demand, right? Because these are the two tech stack which are very much in demand in the industry. Okay, so like I said, now we have to go into Spring Boot. Spring Boot initially may be a bit complex because this is something that is a proper backend framework. This is what companies are using on a large scale to create their backend. So again, for going into Spring Boot, I want you to enter it slowly. I don't want you to just start off creating projects in Spring Boot. Again, there is a bit of theory. So I want you to go into theory first about Spring Boot. Like what is Spring? What is Spring MVC? What is Bean? What is DI? All of these things. So I'll give you an introductory video about Spring and Spring Boot. Again, Telesco has made a great video about this, so you can just watch that video and you'll be able to get a good introductory knowledge of what Spring Boot is and what is being used, right? How is it being used in the industry, even why it is being used. So you'll have an introductory knowledge about it. Now that you have introductory knowledge about it, now it's time for us to again start learning by building. So there are a couple of channels I'm going to suggest to you for this, because again, this is something that will be very difficult for you to do on your own. So I will suggest you some tutorials for this. Now, my favorite channel for learning Spring Boot has been Code with Durgesh. Code with Durgesh has a YouTube channel where he has tutorials on Spring Boot, and every tutorial he follows up with a project, okay, where he'll be building a small project using Spring Boot where some of the concepts will be used that he has just taught. So you can watch Code with Durgesh video. I'll give his playlist in the description box, but his videos are in Hindi. So if you're not good with Hindi, then I'll give you some alternative resources. But the idea is to go into Spring Boot, albeit slowly, but the idea is to go into it and start understanding by building things. Okay? Eventually, you'll build a CRUD application using REST API, and at that point, you'll have a good idea about Spring Boot, like some annotations, the basic of it, the working of it, and you'll be in a good spot with Spring Boot. Now you're at this level where you have a good idea about Spring Boot, you have a good idea about front-end Java, all the previously mentioned things. Now it's time for you to learn by building a proper full stack project. Okay, so there is a channel called Amico's Code where he also makes videos about Spring Boot. He makes Spring Boot tutorials, great channel by the way. So he has a video where he has used Spring Boot and React.js to make a full stack project. What I'm going to suggest to you is you watch that video. With that video, you'll be able to understand a lot of concepts. Everything may not make sense to you right off the bat, but eventually, while building, while following what he is doing, you'll be able to understand a lot of things and you'll have a basic project at your hands. Okay, and you'll be learning a lot of things by building. See, the actual learning happens by building. The actual learning doesn't happen by just watching a lot of theoretical videos, by watching a lot of courses. See, I see a lot of people and they think, okay, I'll complete this course, then I'll build something. That's not how it should be done. You should be learning, building, learning, building. That's how you should be doing it. Now that you're done building this full stack project, now you're at a very good level. You know Spring Boot, you know front end, you know all of these things. Now it's time for you to make your ACE project. Okay, so I've talked about a ACE project in the past. It is your own self-ACE project which you will showcase in the resume. See, you can have 2-3 projects in your resume, but one of them should be your ACE project, which should be at the top. Now, about this ACE project, it should be a creation of your own. You can take references, you can take inspiration, that is fine, but it should be a bit unique. It should have a unique name. It should have a unique features. So even if you're creating a clone project, don't call it XYZ clone. Give it a unique name and give it a unique feature. Okay, so look around you, you'll find a lot of problems, you'll find a lot of opportunities. You can use any of them and create it into a project. You can even search ChatGPT for ideas, you'll get a lot of ideas. So start building a project. Think about the project, what all should be there, what will be the requirements for front end, what will be the requirements for back end, and then just create the project. Now, this would have been very difficult to do 5 years back or 10 years back, but now you have ChatGPT, which is like having a mentor right by your side 24/7. So you can use ChatGPT to do the fullest and you can create a self-paced project. After you create this project, just deploy it. You can deploy it on Netlify, you can deploy it on Render. There are many places you can deploy it, but make sure that your project is deployed. After deploying it, you can give the link to it in your resume. You can showcase it in your resume. And now you've built a proper full stack project which showcases that you know React, that you know Spring Boot, you know front end, you know back end, and you're good with Java. Okay, so you create this project, and in this project you can now introduce multiple other things. So you can introduce things like microservices, you can introduce things like Dockerization, you can introduce things like testing, you can have different testing framework, you can write test cases. All of these things which may not have made sense to you at the beginning of the video, now it will be making sense to you because now you already know what Spring Boot is. Okay, again, for all of these terms that I just mentioned, I'll be giving you guys separate resources, separate videos about learning all of these, so you can integrate them in your project. Now, talking about integrating in project, there's one very important thing I really want you to integrate in your project, that is AI, artificial intelligence. See, a lot of these companies nowadays are looking for people that have AI skills. Now, what they mean by AI skills, they don't want someone who will be able to create AI or who will know machine learning algorithms. What they need is someone who knows how to integrate AI, because all of these companies are looking for integrating AI into their products. None of the companies are launching their own AI, they're just consuming AI. So I highly suggest that whatever project you're making, you integrate any AI feature into it. So you can use Gemini API, you can just make a call to Gemini API, you can integrate something like a chatbot or something simple. It doesn't have to be complex, but try to integrate AI in your project. That is going to be extremely important. Now that you know how your race project should be like, start creating it, deploy it, push the code to GitHub. And if you want me to review a project idea, or if you want ideas from me, let me know in the comments, and we can have a discussion there. Now we're done with the building phase, and now let me give you guys some extra tips about what you can do to make your resume a bit better, because now we're going towards the job hunting phase or the interview cracking phase. So let me tell you what you can do to make your resume better. Even though I'm making an entire video about this, stay tuned for that. So the idea is, apart from projects, you can put certifications. See, what I mean by certifications, I keep on repeating, I don't mean certifications from Udemy or certifications from Coursera. I mean certifications that are backed by companies. A really good opportunity right now is you can do a JP Morgan certification, which is in Java backend. So I'll give you guys a link for that. It is a basically Java plus backend plus Springboot certification, where it is like a virtual internship. You can finish it and get a certificate. So certifications like that will help in showing to the recruiter that apart from the projects, you have certification and you have hands-on experience. So you can try to do certifications that are taken by or backed by or are in done with collaborations with some actual good companies. And now let's go into the job hunting phase, which is extremely important. Of course, people make videos about Java development, but they'll tell you what to learn in Java, how to learn in Java. They'll not tell you how to get a job. But eventually, that is the goal here. You want to become a Java developer in your dream company. You want to crack a job as a Java developer. That is the main thing. So first of all, let me tell you, right now the market is a bit tough. I do market research on a daily basis, and the market is a bit difficult to get into right now. But if you have the right projects, if you have the right skills, you will and you can easily get a job. You will surely get a job if you have the right skills. So there are certain things you need to focus on. One of them is networking. I highly suggest that you network and you build in public. So all of the projects that I said that you'll be making, post about them on LinkedIn. Post about them on LinkedIn. You can showcase your projects on LinkedIn and have an awesome LinkedIn profile. This is very important because it will help you in networking. And I've made an entire video about how to network on LinkedIn. You can watch that video. It's a very informative video and it will tell you everything you need to do to use LinkedIn to get a job. So make sure that you have a good network, make sure you have a good LinkedIn profile, and make sure you have some good connections. Apart from that, be active on all of the job hunting websites. So you have websites like Naukri or websites like InstaHire. There are a variety of websites and you need to be active on them. Okay, so be consistent with it. Apply to 10 to 15 jobs every day. So you can keep half of them for applying immediately, half of them apply immediately, and the other half of them you can apply with referrals. So why I'm keeping half and half is because a lot of times you can ask someone for referral, but the moment they reply to you, the opening has already closed. So that's why don't wait on all of the openings. You can wait on half, and half you can apply immediately. Okay, so build a good network, be consistent with it. The job market is a bit down right now. That's why the shortlisting rate has gone down. It is around 10 to 20%, right? If you apply for 100 jobs, you can get callbacks from around 10 to 20 of them. So the job market is a bit down right now, but the learning phase, the building phase, that is more important, because if you have the necessary skills, if you have a good portfolio, eventually you'll get a job. Okay, and I've made some dedicated videos about how to do job hunting as well. You can give them a watch, but the basic idea is to be consistent with applying. And if you're someone who's having difficulty in getting shortlisted for off-campus placements, if you're not able to get your resume shortlisted, you don't know how to get shortlisted, you keep on applying but your resume is getting rejected, or if you have any other issue in your placement journey, then you can connect one-to-one with me, and I will personally help you, mentor you, and guide you, and make sure that you have all of the things necessary so that you're able to crack your dream company. So you can connect one-to-one with me. The link for that is going to be in the description box. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This video has gone on way longer than what I anticipated it to be. If you have any doubts or if you feel anything was missing, please let me know in the comments and I'll be able to give you advice there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you subscribe and watch out for more videos.